morning, everyone, and thank you for coming on this Saturday. We're supposed to have a little sunshine later today. It'd be kind of nice. It's been very, very cloudy and dark, and so we're looking forward to some bright skies for a change. It'd be very nice to experience that in Michigan. So. The first item following the welcome and the call to order is the roll call, and we'll ask Kimberly if she will conduct the roll call.
Alan Carpenter.
Here.
Rick Day.
Here.
Brian Elling.
Here.
Jenny Hager.
Here.
Jim Huck.
Here.
Kylie Johnson.
Here.
Dennis King.
Here.
Chad Ostrom.
Here.
Don Van Duzer.
Here.
All present.
Item number 3 has been added since you received the initial agenda via email. We have the September 21 minutes of our regular meeting, and then also the meeting of September 29 that was held on a Saturday morning. So if somebody would like to move to put this on the floor, and we'll then approve these minutes.
Second.
Okay, approved by Kelly and second by
Dennis.
Dennis. Yeah, so you have the minutes before you. I don't know if you had a chance to just quickly peruse them or not. But if you want to just take a second or two to take a quick look to see if there are any changes, additions necessary. Anybody have any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, if not, we will adopt and approve both of these with just one vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Those two minutes of September 21 and September 29 are approved. The next item on our agenda is financial reports, and we have 4 of them. August, October for Sandy Pines, and then the golf course, August and October as well. So we'll begin with the August and September financial statements for Sandy Pines, and I will turn it over to Kimberly to give us some comments in regards to those.
Does anybody need hard copies? We have.
Anybody need a hard copy?
I'd like one.
Yeah, I would also.
In past,
This is,
this is September, I got September. This is that last one. You take that one and I'll take that one there. August and September, Sandy Pines.
okay.
And I have it on the screen behind you.
You guys need hard,
If you don't have one, I will, but
Not very
otherwise
well.
I do have it for me.
this is
You
August.
want one? Speak up.
No.
Jim?
I'm all set.
Really?
Printed off.
What happened to
He
him?
is learning.
He's been here for what, 30 years and he's never printed, well, man, I am so proud of you. Hug you, man.
No check register review.
No check register.
Anybody here?
No check details?
September, hard copy?
Who else wants August?
Yep. August. I got one more September hard copy if anybody wants it.
No, I don't need it. I just throw them away later.
Here, oh, gee.
Jim,
Oh.
you want check detail? Hard copy, check detail? Okay.
I actually tried to.
I will
Sandy Pines, and here is
September?
checks,
That's all.
two different reports, so
The check now. I just want to.
two different ways, same report, two different ways.
Anybody else?
That's from my understanding.
Okay. Oh, here's the numbers. That's as far as I made it. That's as far as I made it.
Very-
Everybody else okay?
We're good.
Okay, so summary of September, I'm gonna go over the summary of September, because it's all inclusive with August included in there. But as of September 2018, total cash was 133,000 under budget, or under the balance from 2017. That's after consideration for the final FEMA disbursement yet to be received. So at year end, there's a final disbursement to be received from FEMA in the amount of about 120,000. So after that consideration, we're about 133,000 under 2017's cash balance. And so that's the perspective of Sandy Pines recouping the 1.1 million transfer the year before. So in investments, we did notice decreased about $20,000 during the year due to market fluctuations. Member accounts receivable was about 143,000 higher than prior year. Member prepaids on account are 260,000 higher than prior year also. We've had quite a few members that we found that are paying ahead on their account, holding a credit balance, so that accounted for the prepaids. If netted with member AR at year end, our receivable from members would actually be a little bit of a negative because there was more attributed to members paying ahead on their dues, which we've encouraged people to do, so they're not caught up when the dues are billed out in October. So, other accounts receivable was understated. There was a reclass with an account with member receivables and has been corrected in the new year. So actually, OTAR includes during 2019 119,000. That's approximately 120,000 to be received from FEMA for the very final disbursement on the CCs in phase 3. In addition to a condo receivable, the activity in 2018 was 175,000. That's something to be reviewed with our accountants at year end too, as that's phasing out and that project's coming to a completion as well. Total fixed assets and equity were 1.1 million higher, and that's specifically related to the construction of the 2 new FEMA buildings too.
Kimberly, I just want to mention that we have 3 members of the finance committee here, and
Yes.
you can all weigh in, ask questions at this point. Jim Kuipers, Steve Barr, and Harold Mast. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, going on to the profit and loss statement, under administration, inspection income for 2018 was about 17,800 lower than last year, but it was 12,000 higher than the budget. Our newsletter ad under administration was 12,500 lower than budget. We've known that this has become a little bit more of a challenge to retain ad material and printed newsletter with the new social media venues that are out there. While the revenue for admin is down, operating expenses overall for admin were on budget. Under maintenance, total income services for maintenance and the holdings paid are 11,000 higher than budget. Operating expenses are significantly under budget due to less repairs that needed to be done in the park over the year, resulting in a net income of 244,000 higher than budget. Under public safety, income was 13,000 over budget, and 4,000 resulted in an increase to violations with changes in the patrol and enforcement. The change in staffing and structure increased the salaries in 2018 from prior year's budget, and the department was successful in meeting that budget. Repairs and maintenance within public safety under equipment and supplies was higher than budget. When we had the staff changes and the restructure of that department, there was a little bit more purchased early on in the beginning of the year, making some of those changes. so it was a little bit higher than budget. But overall, operating expenses was 58,000 under budget. Continuing to recreation, the Happy Shack continues to be a popular attraction in the park. However, it's still struggling to reach the expectations of budget in 2018 by about 12,000 and took 4,000 less than prior year. We'll continue to look at the operation of the Happy Shack, but in the new season to bring it closer to budget, but understand it's a good service that we provide within the park too. Recreation operating expenses are 27.5 thousand less than budget, bringing the net income 13.6 thousand over budget. Under resort services, income is 96,000 higher than budget and expenses are 151,000 less than budget. There wasn't much activity under leases. And then Park and Garden. Income under Park and Garden was 37,000 lower than budget. 36,000 of that was recouped from cost of goods sold, as at the end of the year when we did an inventory, there was a lot more inventory left, which will be used going into the next year. Park and Garden salaries are 4,000 lower than prior year, and operating expenses are 8.5 thousand lower than budget. However, the overall net income showed a profit of 34,000 this year, which was 8,000 over budget. Under the rentals, golf cart rentals was 59,000 less than budget. We will prompt a closer look at that activity next year. Watercraft rentals were 7,000 under budget, but they were 4.3 thousand higher than last year, so we do see a pickup in the watercraft rentals. There also was an increase in the wages with more employees that were pulled from Park and Garden over to the rental department just to service at the marina as that flow of the watercraft and stuff picked up. Operating expenses are close to budget with the net income being 25,000 under budget for the season. And then under retail, less gasoline was sold in 2018 and therefore less purchased. And Sandy Pines is continuing to work with the state through the new gas tax changes as well. Sales department, 2017 was a really great year for sales within Sandy Pines. Although Sandy Pines did not meet the same numbers in 2018, overall income was 48,000 higher than budget for the year. And that closes my statements on the September financial statements, which is our fiscal year end for Sandy Pines in 2018. Are there any additional questions?
Kimberly, under resort services, under year-to-date activity, it's got unreal gain, loss investments, and there's a 71,128. Is that a change in our investment with?
Yeah, netted with the dividend and interest income that brings, or that nets to the 20,000, the overall 20,000 decrease we found in our investments for the year. So our actual gain and loss on the investments was about 70,000. And then it was picked up with extra dividend and interest income through the year, so.
The bond market took a pretty good hit as the stock market increased this year. And it's recovered some now lately because the stock market has come down, so bonds are we'll probably see a different look at the state even at the beginning of next month. That we'll see some recovery. It goes up and down, but significant. This is a pretty significant decrease.
We actually found quite a bit of it just through the employees' personal 401k too. Those that were invested in that section had their portfolios in that section of the market too.
Do they evaluate our bond portfolio at the end of every month?
Yeah, we'll probably have Schwab come in. They usually come in at the beginning of the next season just to kind of go over everything and analyze where everything is at for the year.
They do it monthly or quarterly?
They do it monthly.
They do it monthly.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the season, generally May or June, for the last 6 years, this will be the 7th year, we have a workshop with the board and the finance committee, and we bring in Schwab as well as Bean Garter to do the review, overview of the financial review that they do. And Schwab comes in and gives us a report on where we are, what the situation is with the investment. So you can plan on that again this year.
So that basically is a reflection of the market at the end of September. It's not, it isn't because of selling of bonds, or it's only just the valuation at the end of the month. Okay, okay.
But this one,
Yes.
so this isn't audited yet, so will most of these figures stand, you think, or you're gonna have something different?
No,
next time?
there usually aren't. If there were
Yeah.
changes, when Bean Garter comes in to do their review, they would point those out.
So, you might have said this, so this was roughly $500,000 better than what you were expecting? Yeah, okay. Hopefully that stays. That's better than.
It was a decent year, it wasn't a stellar year.
Yeah.
I would say, you know. But, so we're doing off-season, we'll be doing off-season departmental operational reviews to see
Yeah.
where we can improve and what we can do to try and get back with it. The weather had a lot to do it, because if you look at the ones that weren't as good, it's the golf course, the park and garden, and the camping. They were all down in certain areas, and I believe that a lot of that has to do with weather. We went through that hot period this summer, and Kelly had, I think she said she had, and I got the report, I believe it's around $55,000 worth of cancellations just in camping. So we had total reservations made that were greater than last year, but with the cancellations, it came to the first time in 6 years where we didn't improve the prior year by double-digit percentages. So I believe, again, that when that's down, then golf cart rentals are down, then the other amenities in the park are used less, and the golf course is probably used less for the public anyway. So, but it was a decent year. I mean, we recovered a lot with the 1.1 million in cash that we used, that the board transferred over to pay for the phase 3 project, and you know, we're well on our way. We had about $120,000 to collect yet. That's in the receivable rate from FEMA.
Yep, and that's under other receivables. And
Okay.
on the balance sheet. One other thing I wanted to note too, because the question came up, but when Bean Garter comes in to do the review in the past, they came in the end of end of March, beginning of April. And I've requested that they come in earlier, because that was part of the delay too. So this gives you a chance to kind of review the statements as presented in Bean Garter, and then we'll go through the review process with them, and they will do an overall review of the consolidated statements just before the beginning of the year. And they're scheduled to come out January 7th through 9. So we pushed that up quite a bit. So I think they always put us at the end of their busy season, which makes sense because we're not active, but having them come in when we're just ramping up the season and holding back our review of prior year was important. So we're doing that for the first time this year. So.
Very good.
So that'll be right around the corner for us. New Year is approaching.
If I could just add a comment, one of the things that I usually look at, Jean knows this, I don't always look at the budget. But I think it's important as you hear different things from members, they're always saying, you guys are spending too much money. And one of the things that we look at, and if you look at that number versus last year, as many as improvements as we put into the park, you're only $15,000 more in operating expenses over last year. And I think that's an important number as you hear things throughout the park, and why are you doing this and why are you doing this? And yeah, we have the budget to do that, but I think we're being responsible in the way that the money is being spent. And I think that's an important message that is heard. because everybody always wants you to cut. But I know that Gene's vision is, where is this place gonna be in 50 years? So I think they're doing a good job of managing that money, and it's it's a testament to Gene and to the board, but that's an important number that I watch year over year, and I know Jim watches that number too. That's the things that we're looking at.
That's pretty, and thank you for that, Steve, and it's significant that one line item alone, which was security, was increased by $140,000. So it's coming within $15,000 of the prior year overall. That speaks to the efficiency on behalf of our managers of the other departments.
And if we also look at the fixed assets, the change from last year to this year, I mean, that's huge. That's a big number that is invested into the future of the park. I think that's another testament to, we're not just sitting on our hands hoping everything's gonna stay the same, and we're looking to the future and improving and adding new things, and I think that's really important.
Any other questions or comments in regards to the Sandy Pines end of the year financial statement?
You need a motion in the
Yeah,
second.
we'll have a
What do you wanna
motion
do
to,
with the Finance committee too, because however you wanna do that.
Maybe we should do that separate?
We don't
So
have-
we were just gonna have a board vote on it.
Just-
They're all-
Okay,
If there's any
Okay.
issues, then the finance committee could bring it up, but otherwise it only
Right.
takes one vote.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Right.
that's great, yeah, they're here to provide comments on that, and, yeah.
so this motion is just for the September,
Yeah, just for September, and a motion and a second from the board.
okay?
You might want to make note, this is pre-audit, or check out, some people might not be aware of that this isn't the final from the,
And I
does it
think
say that on
it
here?
does say consolidated
Okay,
and unapproved.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
The financial statement subject to change.
That's normal, we do that every month, we don't want that every month.
Right.
I mean, I have no problem with it, but nothing's different. This month here hasn't been
Right.
for 40 some years.
no, and I'll present that probably in March or April when we do our
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah,
the
when we get together
consolidated.
and when we get together to review with Bean Garter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would have any adjusting journal entries if they find any reclassification or anything, but it's usually pretty minor, if anything at all. But
You can state it totally. But
Yeah.
this one will be posted in
on the website.
on the website Monday,
Yep,
if it's approved.
if it's approved, yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the
Motion
September?
approved.
Motion by
Support.
Brian, supported by Rick.
Okay.
Okay, any final comments or questions? Then we'll ask for the roll call for,
Jenny Hager?
Yes.
Okay. Jim Huck?
yes.
Kelly Johnson?
Yes.
Dennis King?
Yes.
Chad Ostrom?
Yes.
Donovan Dusler?
Yes.
Alan Carpenter?
Yes.
Rick Day?
Yes.
Brian Elling?
Yes.
All approved.
Okay. Now, how about the August?
Well, that was for August and September, because August was rolled into those September
All right.
numbers. Yeah, that
Okay.
was kind of very useful.
Okay, so will you
It was a
post
couple.
the August online as well?
We always put the most current on
Oh,
there, so I
okay.
will have September's year end, and I won't take that off, but I will put October in because that's a new year. So we won't have August on there because September would supersede it, and then have October on there too. We don't put every month during the year on the website.
I didn't realize that. I thought we put every month on that was approved.
No,
Is it
But I
just
can-
quarterly?
no, we put the most recent statement, so each
Okay.
month, so right now July's on there. But we approved August and September.
So you're gonna use, put September.
Yeah, and we can change that if need be, but that's
I think the
Always
most
had
recent, because it's rolling anyway.
It's
Yeah,
on
maybe a
the-
A better
comment.
snapshot, maybe a
Right.
comment that they rolled in.
But you may have someone ask the question, what happened to August?
Hmm?
Those that are not accountants.
Probably would have been me.
So, well, let's make that part of the motion that this includes August, then if there's a question, it'll be answered,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't want people to think that you didn't get a look at August.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
So if they wanted to come to see it, they could come into the office and see the
Right,
office if they for some
right.
reason wanted to drill down into that detail.
You want-
Okay, so put that as part of the motion I was
Motion,
putting
August
is
through
August and
September
September
2018.
approved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's how the agenda is. so,
Yeah.
You got
Okay.
it over,
Okay.
Jenny?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, all right, everybody understand that? Okay,
Okay, so I think that keeps us on, go ahead, I'm sorry.
all right, now you want to make some comments about the October?
Sure. So for October, there's usually not as much activity in the first financial statement of the year. More for Sandy Pines than there is for Lake Monterey. But again, our total current assets are 54,000 lower, and that's attributable to the following comments. Our cash as of October 2018 is 258,000 lower than prior year. That does not include the 120,000 in receivable from FEMA in that last request. So we're about the same as where we were at year end with that of 130,000 different. Our Schwab investment, again, is around the $27,000 decrease from prior year, had a drop in October from prior year. Our member AR, as of October 2018, which after the dues were billed was 90,000 higher than last year. Much of that was attributable to the CPI increase in dues, and there was an increase to the cable for $7 in the year. Other receivables, which includes the OTAR, other accounts receivable, and the final FEMA project is 200,000 higher than prior year. And if you recall, that FEMA payment to be received is 120,000. The accounts receivable from the golf course, that note payable as September 30th was paid down. And so from October 2018 to October 2017, that AR 75,000 lower than the prior year, because the golf course paid 75,000 on that note, which leaves the remaining 75,000 on that one note. There's other receivables to receive from the golf course, but that particular note to Sandy Pines is at 75,000 because we paid half of it. So total current assets was down 54,000, but that much of it was part of that notes receivable. So in reality, our current assets did increase. So total fixed assets are, again, 1.1 million higher under buildings for Sandy Pines, which was the value of the 2018 FEMA CC's bill as Sandy Pines cost. Total net income for October 2018 is 110,000 higher, and that's attributable to the following comments. In admin, there is additional miscellaneous income for 7,000, which I will be tracking through member service to get more clarification. It may be just some miscellaneous sales that they did up front, but I need to get some more tracking on that yet, and I will get back to the board on that. In maintenance, our salaries are a little bit lower, and that was just a result of some reduced hours and schedules in that department over the month of October. Our ground maintenance is 20,000 lower. 2018 or 2017 had more demolition costs at the beginning of the year. So October 2017, the start of fiscal year 18, had more demolition costs in the beginning of the year. Our security salaries are 10,000 lower at the start of October, or at the start of fiscal year 19, and that was a direct result of just staffing changes and so forth. 2018 had $6,000 more in costs of equipment and supplies. Under resort services, dues income is 50,000 higher. Again, that was due to the, trying to catch up my screen here with the Excel because I have it on there too. Dues income was 50,000 higher than prior year, and a lot of that was result of the CPI index valuation and the dues. Cable income was 15,000 higher, and that was attributable to the $7 increase in the assessment per member. And a lot of that was to adjust for the changes that we were seeing from Charter over the year. Under retail, laundry income for 2017 was received after fiscal year 2017 close and recorded at the first of 2018. So under retail, so therefore 2019 does not have laundry income at the start of the year like the prior year. So prior year, at the very beginning of the year, there was a large laundry check that was received, but it was too late for the prior year end, so it got booked. And so when you're comparing October 18 to October 17, that's the difference there. And then last, sales commission income for fiscal year 2019. At the start is at 20,000, which is 20,000 higher than prior year. So are there any questions on October 2018 for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails?
Any questions or comments in regards to the October statement? Okay, then we'll entertain a motion and a second.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. Okay, and motion by Rick and seconded by Kelly.
Okay. Okay, I have Ellen on this.
Okay, all right.
Roll call.
Yes.
Okay, Brian Elling,
Yes.
Jen Eager,
Yes.
Jim Hunt,
Yes.
Kelly Johnson.
Yes.
Dennis King,
Yes.
Chad Ostrom,
Yes.
Don Van Duzer,
Yes.
Alan Carpenter.
Yes.
And Rick Day.
Yes.
All approved, 9-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, then let's move to the golf course, the September 30 report.
Mhm. As of September 2018, cash for Lake Monterey Golf Course is 46,000 higher than prior year. This is also after the $75,000 note payable back to St. Pines. So you also see that the receivable on that, or I'm sorry, the payables on that note is $75,000 lower, matching the receivable on Sandy Pines financial statements. Equity in 2018 increased 50,000, and that was attributable to the value of capital. On the profit and loss statement, memberships are 3,000 higher than last year and 4,000 over budget. So Gary had a great year with membership sales through the year in 2018. Weekend green fees were down, but the green fees were up, and member green fees were up. And Power Cart sales was also up from 2017. Food income and the beer and alcohol were down about 6.2 thousand altogether from 2017. The overall income is $6,000 higher than 2017, but 9,000 less than the budget. So in comparison, we are higher than prior year, but still a little bit less than the budget. Operating expenses were significantly less, approximately 26,000 less than budget, with the net income overall for the year 7,000 in the positive in comparison to budget. Are there any questions for the September fiscal year end of 2018 for Lake Monterey Golf Course?
Why do you have a separate asset replacement cash? I mean, you include all that in cash, but what is that for versus just
That
cash?
is the amount of the dues for the golf course that is transferred over for capital purchases. So just like for Sandy Pines.
Yeah, okay.
There is $25 of the assessment for the golf course that is set aside for capital improvements, and the rest of it all goes towards the operating expenses of the
Because
golf course.
that's the major point, where there's extra cash.
Mhm.
That's the biggest one, okay.
Yeah.
I got something every time.
Oh, good question.
Any other comments or questions in regards to the golf course? Okay, then we'll ask for a motion. So moved.
Well, and I just want to mention, this is August and September too, kind of
Right.
notes off of September, but I
Right.
did email out the August statements as well to the board. So
Okay.
you-
Jim, Jim Huff moved, and who provided a second? Support?
Kelly.
Okay.
Roll call.
Yes, and we'll ask for the roll call.
Okay, Alan Kirkland.
Yes.
Rick Day.
Yes.
Brian Elling.
Yes.
Jenny Yeager.
Yes.
Jim Huff.
Yes.
Kelly Johnson.
Yes.
Dennis King.
Yes.
Chad Ostrom.
Yes.
Don Van Duzer.
Yes.
890, all approved. Thank you.
Okay, you have some comments about the October?
It'll be my smallest summary.
All right.
So not much activity is going on at the golf course naturally the month of October. There was some, so we can note that and receive those financial statements. I'm just pulling my notes together here. Cash overall is 33,000 higher than the prior year. Total assets and liability equity were 20,000 higher than prior year. On the profit and loss statement, there was not much activity in the first month of the fiscal year. As you can see on the profit and loss statement, they had a total of 54,000 for the year, or I'm sorry, for the month of October. Of the revenue that was earned in October 2018, it's currently 3,000 less than the prior year, so a lot of that's weather dependent too. So, operating expenses for this first month are 1.3 thousand higher than 2017. The major increase in that are repairs and maintenance on the golf course. Jean, if you don't mind, if I defer to you on kind of the repair and maintenance that Gary's doing on the golf course and
Yep.
stuff.
It's been mainly to the greens and trees, and he's doing some fall work that doesn't have to be done in the spring. Other than that, I think, it's been a little higher than last year, so it's probably the largest reasons. Gary continues to work at the golf course every day. I noticed yesterday, in fact, I asked him if he had time for lunch, and he said no. So, kind of odd for a golf course manager not to have time this time of year, but he had people around. So, he was working the course. He continues to make improvements on the course, on the property itself, and he's well along into progress that he's hoping to make, but he's not there yet, according to him. So, but the course does look good. This was a tough year because of the weather. At the same time we had that hot weather, the river pump, the river pump died, and so he was only able to use about a third of the water that he normally would, and they focused on the greens, so the fairways took a hit. So one of the things that he's going to be putting in this fall or early in the spring is a new well one of two to come that we can replace the river pump. The river pump is pretty much an antiquated pump, and that's why it took so long to get the part for it. So those wells are about $75,000 a piece. He'll put one in this year and then maybe one in a year and a half to 2 years away. So that'll get him, it'll take his dependence off the river pump, and we'll use that as a backup.
So was he a full year's employee? Does he work 12 months a year?
He's considered all year part-time. Seasonal part-time.
I noticed there's 7.
He's not, he puts most of his hours in the, obviously, in the season. But, in the off-season, his time is much more flexible and his hours are reduced.
But so the 150 or 145,000 budgeted for salary and wages is mostly him, but then there must be some summer seasonal stuff.
No, it's not mostly him.
Okay.
That number came down from 210,000 about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, it's significantly less than it was.
But he's paid a salary, isn't he, a monthly salary, or?
Yeah. Yeah, we take his salary and spread it out over 12 months. We do that with a couple of other people too that are year-round, part-time. That's what we consider.
So he sets his own hours, and if it's a...
In the wintertime,
In the winter.
yeah, in the wintertime he does. There's an expectation of the days that he's here, but
Well, I'm
he
sure
generally
more.
exceeds the expectations.
So he's got more of a goal-oriented job, and if he has to work during the wintertime, or nice days during the wintertime, he's out there every day.
Yeah.
He does a nice job. It is
Yeah,
really-
and
really good.
we're pleased overall with his performance.
Yeah.
And again, I'll be sitting down with him shortly, and we'll review his operations again and see what we can do to improve it in places that he or I may have concern with it, and we'll look at it all again.
I think in those October 2000, thank you, Jean, for having that. The October 2018 statements, I think, reflect exactly what we're seeing, that there's more repair and maintenance into the park and less activity with the revenue at the beginning of the season, just because it was quite a bit of rain when the season ended and stuff, so. But taking advantage of the time now and getting the golf course ready for next year, so that's pretty reflective in the statements. So those were all my comments for October.
Okay. Any other questions or comments that we have for the committee or the board? Then we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Ellen and seconded by Jim Huck. Okay, we'll ask for the roll call.
Okay. Alan Carpenter?
Yes.
Rick Day?
Yes.
Brian Elling?
Yes.
Jenny Hager?
Yes.
Jim Huck?
Yes.
Kelly Johnson?
Yes.
Dennis King?
Yes.
Chad Ostrom?
Yes.
Don Hinsler?
Yes.
Approved 9-0. Thank you.
Okay.
This is good. And then these will be posted on the website for our members to see the approved financial statements, which is the earliest they've been available for them.
Okay.
So thank you.
Are we gonna review the capital?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a printed copy for you.
Okay, good.
So the first one I'm passing out is Lake Monterey Golf Course here on Capitol. Oh. Thank you. So Lake Monterey had minimal expenses in the year, but a lot of that was attributable to the knowledge of the river pump that needed to be replaced. And so part of that money has been held to apply to the money that was received in this next year so that we can really get that project taken care of. So, but of the expenses that were expended, most of it was the purchase of a computer that needed to be replaced and a trimmer, so 2 pieces of equipment. And then there was the renovations to the clubhouse on the new patio and the porch, in addition to the replacement of the grill.
Okay.
So that's my update for that. I do have Sandy Pines. Fiscal year end capital report. Do you want to do the other one too? Or-
What's that?
That's the summer. This was the current, yeah.
Oh, no, we'll just go over last year's.
Okay. So for Sandy Pines, capital budget summary, all the items are listed here. Not much changed from the last time it was presented, but the FEMA project has been updated in there. The one thing I want to know is the replacement at CC6 Building and Laundry. Shows it was over 70,000. A lot of that came into play too in that FEMA project. One of our biggest responsibilities with that project was as invoices came in and we went through the reimbursement with the state, what's reimbursable, what's not reimbursable. But there's a final invoice that was received at the very end of the year, and that's where they pay you the front. And we were borderline, I mean, it was kind of borderline, is that part of excavation, is that part of, it was really hard for us to qualify that as hardening costs because members could still get into the building if it was dirt or whatever. So 40,000 of that 70,000 is specifically related to prepping or paving the area in front of it. So, but overall, I don't have major concerns with where that ended up. But the cost, the actual capital expenditures on those two buildings is inclusive of the total non-hardening costs for Sandy Pines on those buildings, in addition to the 25% of the hardening cost. So FEMA, or the state of Michigan, has repaid 75% of the hardening of that building, but Sandy Pines was responsible for 100% of the non-hardening costs and 25% of the hardening. So we were pretty close to budget. And on the hardening cost, within what we had in budget, we're 7% difference from what we budgeted. We've recouped everything off of that. So, and that last invoice had a little bit of an effect on that percentage. But FEMA asked you to be within 10%, so we did good with the expectations, especially first project around. But that was our major project for the year. Continuing through the list, you can see that the rebuilding the flea market picnic shelter, and as you drove in, you can see that that's actually in construction right now. It's the big project we started at the beginning of the year, but that project was held until the end of the year, until maintenance kind of closed things up in the park. So those funds are carried over to the next year, in addition to the picnic shelter, rebuilding that in phase 3. I do know, and you can see that they're kind of italicized, and I went over these during the year too. There were some projects that became necessary. There were higher priority projects, so we funded that with other projects that we determined weren't needed for the year. And so overall, looking at everything overall, we were within 239,000 of that budget. But taking out of that, there's still repairs or money that's being held from that 239, 115,000 of that once we complete the earthen dam. And then also 30,000 that I mentioned for the flea market and the picnic shelter, that's out of that 239. And the camera upgrades, we had that budgeted in last year, but we actively kind of started the project in this new fiscal year. I think you can see there was a very small $1,200 applied to that. That's still an open project and will continue. There's 35,000 in the capital budgeted for this year and 35,000 in 2018 and 35,000 this new year, 2019. So in total, there was 70,000 split over the 2 years. So, and there were a few items that came in under the capital safe harbor threshold, so that was moved back into expense, which was reflected in the statements you just reviewed. So overall, our capital was within 31,000 of our budget for the year, which we know with bigger projects and stuff, that can be absorbed. And the capital, which we'll look at next year, or next, for this current year that we're in, if you recall, when we approved the budget for capital, we kind of met that point where there are these bigger projects and we're gonna be a little bit over of what's coming in. So this will help a little bit in absorbing that as well. Are there any questions on the capital update for the fiscal year end? Or comments?
Just if I could, I'd ask about that earthen dam, that 115,000. What is the schedule to do that work?
They're working on it right now.
Oh,
Should
okay,
be done.
okay,
It
so
was
it's
carried
happening,
forward for a while.
okay.
If you
Yeah.
stay a little longer in the park.
That's your job.
You know, this was my 8th year, and every year at the end of the season, I see the water like way down. In fact, when, you know, I'm tubing with the kids and it's sleeting and they're getting, you know, melted in ice, they're that crazy. But it's so low, I'm afraid of, you know, hitting stumps and whatnot. But this year, the water was literally at the top of the spillway. Were we running the pumps that whole year? Was that due to rain?
No, just, yeah.
Really?
We did run pumps, but right now, it's even now, the water, they're pumping water out of the lake. you know,
So
where-
Kelly suggested they pump it over to his place.
Yeah, well, that's what's headed your way. It's going over the dam. But no, actually, the water levels on an average have been higher, which is why we're hearing about more erosion, beach erosion too. Part of the reason is winds and water height.
Right. I was just surprised it was as high as it was this whole year.
Last year it was down about 18 inches,
Mhm.
you know, and we've seen it, like you said before, we've seen it at 3 foot, which is below the overflow. But the last couple of years have been pretty high. I would rather see it high, but,
Right.
but some folks that have a beach that's washing away, they're not real excited about it. But I think it's safer for the boats and for skiers and water sports, it's safer to have more water, so.
I was just wondering if it was due to running the pumps a lot longer this season than in years past.
No, I don't think in fact, I think we shut the pump off. We had it on for a period this spring, but you have to confirm it with Ben, but I think he shut the pumps off in June
Really?
Yeah, I never moved my dock one time this year. From when I initially put it in, usually by the beginning of July, I've had to move it out, but I never had to touch it this year.
already. No, we can pump from out of the river if we're low, like
Right,
years you're
yes,
talking about. We can pump out of the river, I think from December to, 1st of December to, I think the 1st of March, we can pump out of the river. So, but we won't have to do that, we didn't have to do it last year, and we probably won't have to do it for, well, not this year, we won't, because we're pumping it out.
They're pumping it out, right? We might have to this year when they're done fixing the
We
dam.
may.
How far down do they have to get that to do the dam?
I think, I haven't talked to them, but I'm assuming that they want it so that there's no chance that there'll be spillover. You know, if you get a windy day or something like that. So they're down, it's down about maybe 4 or 5 inches now, and they're working on it. So I'm assuming that they just wanted it low enough so that it wouldn't go, there's no danger of going over the overflow. So they're pumping out a lot of water.
Yeah, I drive over that to get to the.
Yes, yeah, you gotta drive over it. Pretty neat, it's quite a bump.
Thank you.
Kimberly, you want a resolution, a motion to approve this?
I think we had that just as an update.
Okay.
It's approved, the budget and stuff is approved, but it's up to,
Okay, all right.
that's your call how
What's
you
happened
wanna
in the
do it.
past with this? It was just a report?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
The budget is approved and.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then our responsibility, fiduciary responsibility statement in that
Okay.
budget, which
Okay.
would, I do want to say on behalf of the staff that works on these projects and stuff, there were some pretty major projects done within the year. And we
Okay.
got close on all of them. was something, you know, I'm proud of the staff for, so. Makes my job a little easier.
Gene, do we have some ongoing projects that when
I
people
have the
run
current-
through the park?
I have up through November here, if you'd like to see what's going on
Okay.
now. So, you can pass this down, there's enough for everybody. So this is an update with where we are as of November 30th for the new year. So this is the brand new budget for the capital budget for the new fiscal year and the expenses that have been expended so far. So, starting off, the very first one on there was the re-shingling at the rec station. Jean, you might know better, is that project completed, or are they still working operationally on that, on fixing that? Or is there more to be done on that, Jean?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, the rec station, the re-shingling of that roof, is that project complete, or,
Mhm.
okay. So, yeah, they were within budget on that, 7,000, but that project's been complete, and that was something that's been out there for a while to do. The new roof structure at CC 12, so far we've expended 87,000 of the budget, that was 250.
Will it reach 250? Or is it just,
Likely.
it will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Ben had
reached,
bids on it.
Oh.
yeah,
That number came from the result of some of the estimates that he had under
Oh.
the so I would say would be close.
and this question has come up to me, it's not just re-shingling or the roof, it's replacing the roof structure. So when you look at the
It's-
retail center compared to the pavilion,
It's
that's,
exposing part of there was another one of those earthen ones.
or
Yeah.
CC 12.
It's exposing part of that, putting a new face and a whole new top on it. Plus, the top lid had to be replaced because that was rotted away. So basically, we're saving the CC for $250,000. And it will look a lot like the CC 11 that they did last year.
Oh, okay.
And the electrical, some of the electrical has to be redone too, so there's potential that some of the work that they didn't realize had to be done may add to that cost just a little bit.
And then, kind of strolling through that a little bit further, you can see that there's some additional expenses that have been incurred on some projects. But the road resurfacing, we've spent 6,200 so far. We've also replaced some pickleball lights within the park. If you look at admin, a couple things I want to know. We had budgeted for some computer equipment replacement. That's actually server and firewall. With their warranty, they had reached the useful life of their units, and it was important that we replace that, and we did have that appropriately budgeted for in capital to replace that. So that was one piece of that. And then in addition, we're featuring it first time today, but the WebEx and cloud meeting software, you know, the purchase of that shows up on this too. So there's some good enhancements there, allowing us to do what we're doing today, you know, that we have another meeting where everybody can't be here, then we have that option, so. And then the only other one or a couple more to know is the camera upgrades and replacement. As soon as the season ended, our safety director, Steve Yarman, was very active with Hungerford and replacing all the camera units within the park. So you can see at the very bottom, the camera upgrades, the 35,000 that rolled over from prior year, and then 35,000 this year. A lot of those expenses have come up, and he's been really looking closely at budget, but still looking to meet the needs because it is a very big safety and security feature within the park. So.
What's the, what are they doing? I know they're having a problem with bandwidth.
Yep. And
Is it still
being,
ongoing?
it's being addressed in charter right now.
Yeah,
It was a faux pas on their part.
it's gonna be, I-
Not delivered as promised is kind of what I heard
Well,
last night.
well,
The
I
100
think there was
is still
my
there.
understanding of Jim was that they took away more than we had authorized them to take away.
Mhm.
So Communication with that communication company, really a challenge. But Kimberly's been on top of it along with Steve, and I believe that we'll get that back up and going. Because it just slowed down, what, a weekend ago?
Yes, yeah.
Just a week ago.
Yeah.
Until then, it was just an amazing thing. I'm told, I hadn't seen it
Yeah.
until I
And they
got back.
should-
Well, they're only having problems with, well, last night they were having problems with some camera locations, and Drew said it was.
The recreation center.
But the system itself looks very impressive.
Mhm. Yeah.
I received an email from Charter, or, well, from Hungerford last night, who spoke with Charter, and so I replied to them, but they're gonna have to take, service off just for a brief amount next week at some point, so I'm gonna be scheduling that with our staff, because I've got to do some testing, just to see what's going on with that bandwidth, but we can look at that. I'm pushing them to do that as soon as possible next week. And then, Hungerford's gonna be replacing some of that core unit and the equipment in the server room at the same time at the end of next week, once that bandwidth, we need that bandwidth up first, so. It's a work in progress, but we're pushing, so. And then, yeah, on the very bottom, you can see the 30,000 from prior year's capital budget, rebuilding. It's actually rebuilding the flea market, and I apologize for that. I think, the reports, I need to, it was noted differently on the invoices, but it's actually the flea market, which is behind us here. There's been 8,000 so far expended on that, so. But that's everything so far, as you can see. As soon as the season closes and we have a little bit more access to do the renovations and upgrades in the park, you know, our staff gets busy, and it's reflected in this here, so.
I would only add to that as of yesterday, the fitness equipment that's listed there was installed. We purchased 3, 6, 8 new machines
Yeah.
that were previously installed at the beginning of, or when the fitness room was built. And they were residential machines, so we moved to a commercial machine because we had been experiencing so many breakdowns with the equipment. And it had been aged and it's definitely used. So we had new equipment put in yesterday, and I think that was around 25, 24, 26,000.
Yeah, it was just under.
Was the end number?
24.
Yeah. so-
Well, 20, almost 25.
Yeah, so that will, you'll see that on the next
On the December.
month.
Are there any questions or comments on November's activity up to November?
Is it possible to get an update on the path to and from phase 3 timeframe and what the latest thoughts are? I know there's a lot of effort, investigation of what we're gonna do.
I didn't hear you, Jim.
On the path to phase 3, an update on the progress and timeline?
I have no update. In fact, I just asked Steve to check with Salem Township, where the last meeting we had with, including the road commission, was to get us a number, and they wanted to do the engineering on putting that underneath there, to get us a number on it, and we have not heard back from them. I thought, by the time I got back from vacation, I expected to see something. Haven't got anything, and I haven't got a hard number on paving that area of going past phase 3 as well, that half mile.
Is the thought that you're gonna go under the road now? That's the latest based upon the price they come in with, or rather than over, or the number, the dollar makes a
That's
difference?
that's the option we're looking at,
Okay.
and it seems to be the only option that could be affordable. Going
Well-
over top, I think Kevin Hager looked at it a few years ago, and that was, that was over $500,000 to do that. And that, we're expecting that to come in much less than that.
Would the county help out if you went under the road? Would they help out in any way, or that's all on Sandy Pines?
It's all on Sandy Pines. No, those signs that you see now that are flashing, those are on Sandy Pines too.
That's a great idea, by the way.
Well,
That's
That's in there.
it was
That was
a
an add-on.
Band-Aid.
No, last year's budget.
It's a great option.
It's an option that,
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Draw attention to
It's
the
better
cost.
than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
Right.
They're
No.
expensive to have installed by the county.
I saw it flash in the middle when I came in today, and I don't know if the wintertime it needs to be on, but whatever.
Well, it's
There's
solar.
solar.
Yeah, so,
And they're maintained by the county, so.
oh, really?
yeah.
Great, good idea.
We just have to pay for it.
Yeah,
They
right.
take care of it.
Everybody wants the money.
Who replaces it if it's stolen?
We do. I'm sure.
Well, how bid you
That's
need?
why I agree with him. Do we need it in the wintertime?
Well, you wanna call the county and see if you can find somebody that'll come and turn that switch off?
I'll volunteer to turn that switch off. No, it should be just taken out, because those solar panels are expensive. Just replace it in the spring.
I can check on it, Dennis.
Might
Just
be
an
more
idea.
expensive to have a county worker do that. than
Yeah,
someone
take it out and put it
costs.
back in.
I wouldn't plan on
The
that.
solar panel probably isn't costing you any more money once it's installed in operation.
Hard to watch.
Is there any other items that we need to address on capital reserve fund update?
That's good, those was very dangerous things. Let's get newspaper back.
Well, I think that then brings us up to the point where we have covered everything on the regular agenda. On item number 6, we're going to go into executive session, so we'll thank our finance committee members for being here this morning on a Saturday. We appreciate the time you've given to take a look at this. So, thank you very much.
Can I have one final comment before we're asked to leave?
Yes.
Would there be any problem if I were to, in a generous mode, give to the board a book that was written by one of my friends from Zeeland, Michigan? It's a free, it's not a, I want a Merry Christmas to each of you, if I could do that.
Sure.
All about being generous, the city finds is generous, so if we could do that, I think we all should be more generous, probably, if we're able.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Eugene, I'm doing this, I don't want the board members to think I'm getting in trouble here. Jim, for you, sir.
Jim, turn and smile.
What's it about?
Thank you. Being
generous.
Thank us for the Vancouver Core Fund. Give it to the
You know what?
Vancouver
Look at that.
Look at that. But you know what? Diane Dorn, for years.
Yes, he is. Yes, he
I'll
is.
be
He's
seeing you
wonderful.
shortly. and I'll
Sounds
get you a
good.
copy.
Are you short one, Jim? Are you short one? I can do.
Well, doesn't matter, I'll get one, I'm his friend. So
All right, all right.
I'll whenever you.
Thank you very much.
You confirm
he has
friends.
We're acquaintances.
Okay, we need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Gary, seconded by Al.
Merry Christmas, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. See you later. Jane.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and then everyone approved or we roll?
We can do this by just a yes vote.
Wait, there, okay.
Voice vote. All in favor going into executive session? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are in executive session.
John, are you gonna be able to